Hello and welcome to Falcon Books Publishing. Today, in part one of our video series on the elementals, I will be discussing how to begin your journey with the elemental beings and discuss the title, A Guide to the Elementals, a Magical Study Guide, Volume 1, available at falconbookspublishing.com with the expertise of long-standing magician André Consciência, including his course, Elemental Magic, as taught by the Elementals, which can be found at perseusarcaneacademy.com. Links are provided below, where André currently teaches methods to successfully contact these beings safely and for the practitioner to gain more wealth and understanding of the 4 types of elemental beings. As we know, everything in existence pertains to these energies in one form or another. I would like to quote from Franz Barden. He states in Initiation into Hermetics, the elements. Everything that has been created came into being through the effects of the 4 elements. This applies to the macrocosm as well as the microcosm, large and small worlds. Therefore, I will deal with these energies right from the beginning of initiation and allude particular to their profound and multivarious importance. The entire universe can be compared to a clockwork with wheels that engage with each other and are dependent with each other and are interdependent with each other. Even the concept of the deity as a highest comprehensible being can be categorized in aspects analogies to the elements. We will be using excerpts from A Guide to the Elementals, a magical study series, Volume 1 from André Consciência, for those interested in learning about these methods. The Guide to the Elementals is broken up into 3 parts. Part 1, Preparation required to explore the elemental realm, which offers a great foundation to the mature magician in preparing themselves on all 3 levels, their physical body, mental and astral bodies. Part 2, named Magical Equilibrium and Operations, focuses on training the power of the word. Then Magical Equilibrium through the qualities of tarot, listing their virtues, powers, defects and excess for reference, so the practitioner can further understand themselves and refine it. Part 3 deals with the 4 types of elemental beings, beginning with earth, air, water and fire. The author goes into great depth, discussing their astral mental matrix, then the beings themselves, including their sigil and description, which is truly insightful. The book is available in digital, paperback and hardback. The hardback and paperback versions contain beautiful, colourful illustrations and extra information. Moving on, let us begin with an excerpt from Chapter 1, Understanding the Mind, Body and Soul. The quote is as follows: "This book will explore the nature of the mind, soul and body, the nature of the 4 philosophical elements, the 4 elemental kingdoms, the life of the 4 elemental kingdoms, and that which animates them. A magician following on the Barden tradition will feel at home reading it, for it explores aspects of initiation into hermetics, the practice of magical evocation, and the key to true Kabbalah by Franz Barden. The practitioner is expected to be a magician of some experience, maturity and equilibrium, else nothing will happen with the practices, or if it does, the reader will most likely fall prey to all kinds of tricks and mischief. When exposing myself directly to the beings that animate the 4 elemental kingdoms, the same beings revealed in the practice of magical evocation, together with some of their unmentioned subordinates, the thoughts of the elementals are being translated by the nature of my evocations unto human thought, then unto human language, and specifically the English verbal language, which is not my native language. Although it is not the only method, and surely not the simplest, it was used, put together with clairaudience, for practical reasons, the writing of this work. I have previously written a fiction named The Gem of Silence that, on the other hand, seeks to approximate human thought to elemental thought. It can be of a complementary nature. Elementals and Elementaries. We should start by highlighting, on a short note, the difference between an elemental and an elementary, as there has often been confusion between the 2. An elemental is a natural being composed of one of the four elements, while an elementary is a being made of vitality and psychic saturation, a thought form usually fed with astral components by the conscious effort of the magician or by the obsessions of any person. Elementaries of erotic desire can give form to the so-called succubi or incubus. Elementaries of urge and survival can become vampires, and many other phantoms come from this sort of obsessive phenomenon. Paracelsus mentions elementaries, and so does Franz Baden. Both also mention the elementals. The focus of this book is the elementals. Elementals, or beings of the fire, are the salamanders, beings of expertise in faith and on the reality of the now as expressed with the best clarity and splendor possible. They hold the courage that opens the way to experience, to integration and to depth. One can feel them vibrating like a spider string in every spark of intent. The elementals, or beings of the air, are the sylphs. Their harmonious nature makes it possible for them to create free associations that have no qualitative or quantitative distortion. One can feel them tapping behind the electric flow of thoughts. The beings of the water element are called undines. They can swim behind the pulse of emotions. The beings of the earth element are gnomes, and they work in a realm similar to that of our sensory experience, our senses being the microcosmic seeds from where material reality grows in the macrocosm and vibration becomes objective. The fiery kingdom is one of creative intent and warmth. The aerial kingdom is one of thought, light, shape, and weightlessness. The watery kingdom is one of rhythm, emotion, form, and coolness. And the earthly kingdom is one of sensation and weight. In all four kingdoms, there is will, intellect, feeling, and consciousness. And in all four kingdoms, intelligence is subject to form and duration, magic and fantasy. Fantasy and magic are often mistaken for one another. In fantasy lies the danger of illusion, but also the living power of imagination. For instance, the realm of elementals is often called the enchanted realm. It is the realm that is being chanted by the word, as in the creative power of light. In a way, it is the natural world inside the creative power of light. Enchanted and fantastic are often assimilated as a single concept. Fantasy comes from the Greek phantaseme, to make visible, as well as from the Greek fantasia, the latter meaning both imagination and appearance. I have written a book on Hermetic science named The Way of Abrahadabra, it being that the formula of this magical word translates into I create as I speak. The idea is to train the magician to stand less and less in the way of the creative word of light. Words such as phantaseme and fantasia also spring the word phantom, a phantom being the offspring of obsessive and uncontrolled thought and a hallucination. In fantasy, then, lies the hope and the downfall of magic. It is irrelevant to magic if fantasy is illusory, and it is relevant if its products or effects become true and real. On the other hand, it is irrelevant to fantasy if objective reality is real, but it is relevant if its sources and causes can become inspiring and lifting. Like in all things, the magician, being also the alchemist, must do the work of marrying opposites in a happy marriage. Nevertheless, it is the job of the magician to check his imagination for universal meaning. Also, the teachings he acquires from the elemental beings can be verified through objective reality and experimentation. For instance, it may be the case that a gnome gives him a certain herb to try, and this herb is poisonous. Cases like this are not irregular, for gnomes often have a limited knowledge of men or too much knowledge. In any case, the magician must first test all teachings with safety and with no blind faith, for there is no elemental wiser than nature itself. Parallel to the dangers of evocational magic, the question poses, could it be that elementals are just phantoms and/or elementaries? The capacity to distinguish lies in the maturity of the magician and in the perfection of his training. this field of knowledge being barred in all its glory for the non-initiate. It is not, and that much we can say, a matter of intensity or quantity that distinguishes them, for certain phantoms can have a larger reach, a stronger impact and more compact presence than certain elementals. The secret lies, therefore, in quality. While phantoms will always bear a menacing, corrupted and obsessive quality, the elementals might still feel dangerous, but only in the way certain mighty wild animals feel dangerous. Put in another way, even if an elemental may seem sometimes too intense to bear, it will feel natural and part of a natural expression of the universal forces. Harmonious elementaries, on the other hand, differ from elementals in that they are generally not composed of one of the particular elements in quality, or even if they are composed of a single element, they do not feel whole and natural, for they depend on the magician's mind. There is, thus, an artificial quality to them. The particularly skilled magician might still generate genuine elementals out of elementaries with time and patience, but the need for it is hardly ever justified. Universal language of astral light. Understanding how the brain works. The human brain has 4 senses through which it perceives, and, to my knowledge, we cannot escape all of them no matter what trance state we bring ourselves to be in. They are the intellect, imagination, cognition, and memory. They translate our impressions of vibration or of the astral light into something that we can process. It works this way. Vibration is transformed by the organ of intellection, and it passes to imagination, from imagination to cognition, and from cognition to memory. The more things we send or receive through this circuit, the greater is the capacity to understand complexity with simplicity. It is our power of image-making that allows us to read the astral light or universal language, and it is our imagination that will allow us to communicate through such light, for image-making utilizes structure to craft its images. But imagination creates these structures. Cognition works with abstractions extracted from perceived objects or images, and these abstractions are turned into memory through the impulse that sent them or that received them. That is, through quality, whatever the affection was that stimulated cognition. It is by the efforts of memory that our consciousness evolves, and the more evolved our consciousness is, the more we can transmit it back through the astral light. To fix the impressions it receives, memory works with concepts and with backgrounds upon which concepts may be suspended. The concepts can be fixed by characters, shapes, forms, and letters, while the background is originally the feeling or the quality. Of course, the magician may consciously manipulate the backgrounds or memory places by imbuing his cognition with the will of his imagination. Creating a proper background when dealing with a being from a different sphere or from an elemental kingdom is as important as charging the room with the proper element, so that the magician can then receive the images from the being and make them memorable. Cosmic beings' perception. For cosmic beings, the background is usually impregnated by the image of the infinite expanse inside the circumference of the universe. For elemental rulers, a general scope may suffice, such as the sky, the ocean, the underground vistas, or the magma center of the earth. Elemental kings may have the breadth of their kingdoms as the background, while local elementals could require the magician to have a particular cave, atmosphere, volcano, lake, or river in the background. Micro-elementals will require, for instance, a particular plant, tree, or stream. Together with the natural background comes the character, that is, the image of the being with whom the magician is communicating. His mind will put together seemingly disjointed characteristics into a single image that is easier to remember if under a humanoid form. Some beings appear in different guises, for our capacity for image-making is limited, but the different appearances connect to each other like different pages of a single book. The same happens when the magician is envisioning the kingdom of an elemental king. It is impossible to remember a whole kingdom. The magician may be under the impression that he is perceiving different kingdoms. In his mind, he is to create or explore entrances and paths that unite the different parts, so that, with time, his understanding of such a kingdom grows in integrity. When the magician is using the limited space of the triangle, he should, likewise, create linking points in his memory between the different sessions of evocation, so that he sees the different moods and apparitions of the being not as fragmented and disperse, but as continuous. To this end, the magician's own grimoire of operation, which is the utmost importance. The way in which different backgrounds can be linked is not to be left to chance. Instead, it must be conscious and ordered in its symbolism and choice. Different backgrounds should not be nearly merged nor too distant to cross without putting objective memory at risk. The magician may also link different domains from different beings of the same element, building a better and more conscious understanding of the elemental kingdom itself, and, with patience, he can even link the elemental kingdom of the earth with the elemental kingdom of the water, and so on. Physical evocation. In physical evocations, or journeying in subtle bodies, it is in the wisdom of magic to add further substantive backgrounds, such as magical weapons. These are to be inserted as fixed images that cannot dissolve, and they are connected to the feeling that has been bestowed upon them. For instance, the magician's magical sword represents his absolute victory over the world of phenomena. No matter what the scenario is, if the sword is there, the outcome can never contradict the meaning of the sword, for part of everything the magician is experiencing is being given life by the sword itself. Of the same order are the sigils or signs that give the life of the being himself and his aspects to the whole scenario. Thank you for watching. To continue our exploration of the elemental realm, we will look forward to seeing you in Part 2, A Guide to the Elementals, where we discuss André's course, Elemental Magic, as taught by the Elementals, available at PerseusArcaneAcademy.com, and answering some common questions regarding this subject. If you wish to study with André, you can find his course, Elemental Magic, as taught by the Elementals, on PerseusArcaneAcademy.com. Or read his title, A Guide to the Elementals, is available at falconbookspublishing.com. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to catch up with our latest videos.